What's up, everyone? This is Alex again with Heroic Elite Comics. And as promised, we are back with Days of Future Past Doomsday, the dramatic conclusion to this storyline and the ultimate eradication of the mutant population on Earth. If you're just joining in, don't worry, we've got a full playlist linked at the end of this video where you can catch up on the first part of the story. But to summarize, we're now 33 years into the future. 33 years after the assassination of Senator Robert Kelly, the reactivation of the Sentinel program, and the moment the Sentinels became self-aware. These machines have since taken over North America, enslaving both the mutant and human populations. The story picks up in what was once Asteroid M, previously a base of operations for Magneto. However, it has now been transformed into a prison for mutants. This is one of the key differences between the original Days of Future Past storyline and this version. In the original story, the primary internment camp was located in New York. Here, however, the Sentinels have centralized control, establishing a mainframe computer that governs the inhibitor collars worn by all mutants. These collars suppress their powers, rendering them completely helpless. At some point, a rebellion erupted among the imprisoned mutants. They managed to destroy the central computer, reactivate their abilities, and launch an all-out war against the Sentinels. For a brief moment, victory seemed within reach. The mutants were gaining ground, and it looked as though they might finally turn the tide. However, Sentinel reinforcements soon arrived. This is another major deviation from the original storyline. In this version, the reinforcements consist of a mixture of Mark I and Mark II Sentinels, along with Nimrods, highly advanced and intelligent Sentinels that were absent from the original Days of Future Past timeline. In the original story, the Sentinels achieved dominance over North America primarily due to their sheer numbers. They rapidly reproduced, creating thousands, if not tens of thousands, of units. Any resistance, whether from superheroes or humans, led to a relentless war of attrition. The Sentinels simply overwhelmed their opponents with wave after wave of reinforcements until all opposition was either captured or eliminated. The Nimrod Sentinels didn't emerge until much later in the timeline, in a story called Days of Future Present, which we will explore in a future discussion. In this reimagining, the mutants' brief moment of triumph is tragically short-lived. The arrival of the Nimrods and other advanced Sentinels shifts the balance against them. By the end of the conflict, only 2 mutants remain alive: Laura Kinney, also known as X-23, and Everett Thomas, better known as Sync. Many of you are familiar with Laura, but Everett Thomas has gained more prominence in recent years, particularly due to Jonathan Hickman's reinvention of the X-Men mythos. His mutant ability allows him to duplicate the powers of any mutant near him, and it was recently revealed that there's no time limit to how long he can retain those abilities. This makes him incredibly powerful, essentially the X-Men's equivalent of Peter Petrelli from Heroes. This entire series of events is recounted to Franklin Richards, Magneto, Storm, Rachel Summers, Colossus, and others by Kitty Pryde. She learned about it secondhand as it took place off the coast of San Francisco. No one knows for certain who survived or what exactly transpired. But after this event, the story begins to align more closely with the traditional Days of Future Past narrative. In this version, each mutant's inhibitor collar must be deactivated individually. Destroying the collar outright would cause it to detonate, killing the wearer instantly. This leaves the mutants effectively imprisoned, unable to use their powers without risking their own lives. Wolverine, working with the Canadian Resistance, is tasked with infiltrating the Sentinel-controlled facility where Forge is being held captive. Wolverine's ability to navigate heavily fortified areas undetected is legendary, and he successfully makes his way inside. However, Forge reveals that getting in was the easy part. Getting out is another matter entirely. The Nimrods quickly detect their escape attempt, and Forge realizes there's no way they'll both make it out alive. He decides to stay behind, sacrificing himself to destroy the terminal, ensuring the Sentinels can no longer exploit his designs. His final act buys Wolverine enough time to escape, but Forge had been working on something even more crucial than deactivating the inhibitor collars. He had been developing a device capable of shutting down multiple collars simultaneously, giving the remaining mutant population a fighting chance. Time, however, is running out. The rest of the world has recognized the growing Sentinel threat. If the machines expand beyond North America, they could enforce their rule globally. As a desperate measure, the world's governments have authorized a nuclear strike to eradicate the Sentinels. The mutants now have only a limited window to act before the entire continent is engulfed in nuclear fire. Recognizing the urgency, Wolverine meets with Kitty Pryde, passing her a thumb drive containing Forge's final work. This technology enables them to disable inhibitor collars en masse, allowing the mutants to finally fight back. With the mutants regaining their powers, the final battle begins. This story also delves deeper into the concept of time travel, much like the original Days of Future Past. Rachel Summers, possessing formidable telepathic abilities, acts as an anchor to send Kitty Pryde's mind back in time. She succeeds in preventing the assassination of Senator Robert Kelly. However, unlike the original story, the future does not immediately change. Marvel introduces the concept of branch universes, meaning the original Days of Future Past timeline still exists as an alternate reality. As the remaining mutants stage a desperate escape attempt, many are killed. Magneto stays behind to hold off the Sentinels, while Franklin Richards is slain. Rachel Summers fights to the bitter end, using her telepathy and telekinesis to slow the enemy's advance. Wolverine is incinerated and Colossus is crushed. Despite their bravery, the future remains bleak. When Kitty Pryde returns to consciousness, she realizes that nothing in her future has changed. The original Days of Future Past timeline persists, but the main Marvel universe has now diverged onto a different path. The mutants' final objective is to destroy the Sentinels' primary base of operations, the Baxter Building. The climactic battle sees Magneto, Rachel Summers, Bishop, Kitty Pryde, and Laura Kinney taking the fight directly to the High Sentinel Trinity, the governing intelligence of the Sentinel forces. The story ends on a suspenseful cliffhanger, leaving readers wondering what comes next. Days of Future Past. Doomsday successfully expands on the original storyline while introducing fresh elements and deeper complexities. It not only respects the foundation laid by Chris Claremont and John Byrne, but also enhances it, exploring the consequences of the Sentinels' evolution and the desperate struggle of the mutant race. If you want to catch up on the full story, make sure to check out the playlist link. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.